Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 5 Off, 5 On Racing Show. The racing season is upon us. Daytona was this past weekend, actually this past week and a half, actually, with the Chase, the dual races, the trucks, the Xfinity, and of course the Cup Series with their new sponsor, Monster Energy. A lot went on this weekend at Daytona. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on with the new format and the segments and this new 5-minute clock stuff and try to get some feedback, what your thoughts are about that. I have my thoughts, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But even the Wall Street Journal is questioning some of the actions of NASCAR and whether or not NASCAR is as solvent as it appears to be. You know, when the Wall Street Journal starts looking at your business, it's either a very good thing or a very bad thing. And they're even questioning NASCAR's leadership, questioning NASCAR's CEO, Brian France, and also International Speedway Corp CEO, Lisa France Kennedy, both children of Bill France Jr. And, you know, it's kind of weird when you look at any business that's been handed down family to family to family. You know, you look at the founding father, in this case, Big Bill France, as they called him, because he was a big man. His blood, sweat, and tears went into this. He dug the trenches. He paved these racetracks. He was not just a behind-the-scenes owner. He was out front. And he got his hands dirty. He raced. He knew the racers' language. He understood their needs. That's why he formed NASCAR. And when they, you know, at the old Streamline Hotel, he sat down with a bunch of people and said, guys, you know, we could grow this into something. Because back in the 30s and early 40s, when people weren't racing, you know, these drivers, you know, they'd advertise these big purses and they'd fill the grandstands and they'd put on that race, and the race would be over. They'd load up their race cars and they'd go to the payoff window, and the promoter's gone. They raced for nothing. Sometimes they didn't even get their trophy. And you look back on that, and they kept showing up. And, you know, Big Bill France and his guys got together and said, we can't allow this to happen. We have to make sure they're paid. And as time grew on, what NASCAR did, especially when they had the weekly racing series, which started at the advent of the Winston Racing Series, when they came into the fold in the late 60s, early 70s. You know, if you wanted to be a NASCAR weekly track, you had to guarantee the money. And the money had to be in the bank, so to speak, 48 hours prior to the event, so that no driver was ever ripped off, and that NASCAR would back that money because it was in the bank. And over time, some tracks kind of got away from that. Some continue to still follow that rule. I don't know if it's still in the sanction agreement or not. But when you look back, the drivers were taken care of because, like I said earlier, Big Bill France was a driver himself. He was involved with some of those events where they raced, they spent all their money, tore up equipment, maybe even won the race, and not get paid. So when you look at that, and I see somebody got a corner of my eye and saying NASCAR sucks. No, they don't suck. NASCAR does not suck, and I don't know why somebody would say that. NASCAR is doing the best it can with what it has, and understand something. You know, when you look at racing today, racing's big business. Years ago, it was business, but it wasn't big business. You didn't have the Wall Street Journal breathing down your neck, and you didn't have financial people, you know, coming up with your net worth, and you didn't have big corporate deals coming on. You didn't have any of that till the 70s, and even then, you know, it was not as big as everybody seems to think it was. But when Winston came into the fold under the R.J. Reynolds brand, it brought it to the forefront. All of a sudden, big business, the other big business was saying, maybe we need to get involved, because you look at pictures from race cars, and especially at the cup level, back in the 60s and early 70s, you still had local sponsors. You still had so-and-so's gas station, so-and-so's bar and grill. It was like you went to your weekly racetrack. You had car dealerships, and basically the car dealers, they gave you a car. They gave you a car. Here you go. Put our name on it, go race, because that old adage, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. And that was true. And to this day, NASCAR fans are still brand loyal. They're going to buy that product because their favorite driver is promoting it. And you even filter it down to lower levels. I know there's places that I frequent from time to time that, I go there because it's either run by a racer or they're helping a racer out. And, when I look at that, I go, you know what? I got a choice. I can go to this place or this place. Like, this guy sponsors a car or this guy owns a car. I'd rather go there than go to a place that's non-NASCAR or not NASCAR, non-racing, and you go from there. And that was recognized early on. But, we have a third generation who never got their hands dirty. They didn't dig the holes and grade the soil, move boulders, or pave racetracks. They were behind the scenes, going to school, learning what they had to learn to be business people, and then it was turned over to them. Now understand there's a board of directors, and people have to vote them in. And will someday there not be a France on the boards? I don't know. I don't think so, because they own too many shares of the stock of the ISC, International Speedway Corp stock. So they'll never be voted out of there. But could they be voted out of NASCAR? Yes. Yes. And I'm going to say, NASCAR just wants the money. Doesn't any business want money? Think about it. You own a business. You're not going to give it away. You want to make money. And are the decisions that are being made lately in NASCAR, do I necessarily agree with all of them? No. I'm also not a billionaire, and I can't tell them how to run their business, just as they can't tell me how to run my business. They might not agree with the way I run my business, just as I don't agree with the way they run theirs. And, you look at, how do I put this? Been to a lot of racetracks across North America, not just the United States, North America. Mexico, Canada. I've been to these facilities that are NASCAR. And I've been to so many of the Cup Series racetracks east of the Mississippi. And what's missing? A France walking around the pit area, the garage area, talking to the drivers. I can remember going to Daytona for one of the first times in my life that I had hot passes to be in the garage, and who was walking around talking to not just owners and drivers, but the fans, getting feedback from the fans. And that was Bill France Jr. And I actually went over to him and I said, Mr. France, can I get a picture with you? Because I'm not big on autographs, and 10 years from now, you're going to see scribble on a paper and not know even what it was. But you have a picture and you write on the back who it is or who it was at the time. And he came up to me and he put his arm and he goes, yeah, no problem, kid, let's make it quick. And we took the picture. You call me a kid, I was in my 30s. And we took the picture and I watched him. He walked through the garage area and walked up to as many people as he could in the garage. And while he was walking through where there were individuals, non-racers, no, they weren't drivers, crewmen, or car owners, talking to them as well, feedback. Brian France don't do that. He doesn't walk around the garage. And I don't think that Brian France would know a driver's name if that driver was out of his fire suit or her fire suit. Because, the names are on the fire suit somewhere. Somewhere. Yeah, is he going to know Jeff Gordon? Yeah. Is he going to know, some of the top guys? Absolutely. But with all these new young guys coming in, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, coming in, he doesn't know their names. If they're walking through the garage in a golf shirt and jeans, he doesn't know who they are, because he's lost touch. He's lost touch about that. And, yeah, they're making money. They wouldn't be in business if they weren't. They're making money, and that new generation, hey, you know what? We're making money. I still have my big fancy house on the Intercoastal. I still have my private jet and my chauffeur and my cars, and I have my vacation home. They're going all over the world on the blood, sweat, and tears of their grandfather. And, and I look at that. The Wall Street Journal isn't totally wrong. Is NASCAR in trouble? I don't think they're in trouble. But the product they're putting out for their fans is not what it once was. And, some people say, oh, go back to the way it was, or go back to the old days. And is that the answer? I don't think so. What you need to do is put a good product on the table. Yeah, Daytona was packed. There was a sellout crowd. And, the other races during the week weren't so much. But let me tell you something. And this is one of the reasons why I stopped buying my tickets. You have to buy, or you had to buy a package. I don't know what the deal is now. There were 4 events. You had the duels, you had the trucks, you have now the Xfinity, and you have the Cup Series. So there was 4 major events that week in Speed Week. You had to buy 3. Well, you know what? If you didn't buy at least 3, you lost your Cup seats. So how many people, including myself, still bought the package and didn't go? I didn't go to the truck race ever. I didn't. I went to the duels, usually, and it was a struggle to get somebody to go with me to the, at the time, nationwide race. And it was like, we drew straws, and whoever had the short straw, came with me. It was usually one of my children, because I had 2 seats for that. And and it was like, oh, okay. They really only went for all the stuff that was going on in the midway and outside of the racetrack. And but I look at that. Those seats are sold. Those seats are sold. They're empty, but they're sold. I can remember trying to go to Pocono last year, and I'm online. We're looking at seats, and there weren't a lot of seats available. But when I got to the racetrack that Sunday, or that Saturday and Sunday, a lot of empty seats. The promoter didn't care. I mean, he cared, I'm sure, but he already had the money for those seats. They were sold. So many people just keep renewing their package. I know so many people that have been going to these events for so many years, and they have a stack of tickets, because when their friend goes, I'm not renewing, I'll take your renewal. I'll take your renewal. And there it is, the week of the race, they're trying to get rid of them. It's a business write-off. Just like every other professional sport. You look at, Yankee Stadium right up the road from me. Not right up the road, but all those lower tier seats behind the dugout, empty. But you know what? Some corporation bought those seats, and it's sitting in a desk drawer, those tickets, and nobody's going. And the same thing is happening with NASCAR. And I don't agree with Need for Speed that NASCAR is going to die. I don't think so. It's a multi-billion-dollar corporation, still making money for its shareholders. And I'll tell you what, you need to be a businessman, and you need to know what business is all about before you make those kind of statements. You're not going to die. It's like saying U.S. Steel is gonna go out of business. It's not happening. The gas companies. Rockefeller and Standard Oil, they got broken up. But look what they got broken up into. 10 other successful oil corporations, many of which are involved with NASCAR. And that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Jay Slice, we're going to talk about that in the next segment. But yeah, this 5-minute rule, we got to talk about that. This is crazy. What are they going to do in the lower levels, like in the weekly series? They're going to give you like 3 minutes. It's not going to happen. And someone just said it happened to CART, which was like an Indy time. It only happened to CART because it's the vision, divide and conquer. Each one thought they could do better. So instead of having just The IndyCar series, you had the IRL and CART. They went their separate ways. Some drivers went one way, some went another. But whoever orchestrated that, and I know some of the people that were involved with orchestrating that, it was a divide and conquer. Some of those people who orchestrated that division work for NASCAR. What better way to do in your competition is to do them in, get rid of them. And that's what that was done. That was a big plan. A lot of people don't know that inside story, and I'm not going to give the names, but I know that for a fact. And I know that for a fact that there's people who have big jobs in NASCAR today who are involved with the CART, IRL, or Indy Racing League split. They were involved with that. Now, corporate espionage, I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody. But here was a series that was popular, the Indy cars, popular. They raced all over the place. You know, they didn't just have the Indianapolis 500. They had races all over the place. I can remember watching them at Milwaukee and some other places that were just as plentiful, and even some of the places that NASCAR races today. And when you look back on that, you're like, wow, that's amazing. You know, the conspiracy theory. And if you don't think there's corporate espionage going on, you're wrong, because it is. And that happens. And I don't think there's enough people with enough money today that can make that happen to NASCAR. A lot of people tried to make this happen. A lot of people in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the new millennium, who tried to form organizations and groups. The Professional Drivers Association in the mid-60s that came in. Then they tried to unionize NASCAR, the drivers in the 70s. You know, you guys aren't independent contractors. You guys put on the show. You should be, you should get a piece of the action. You know, but they don't. You know, this is the purse. This is the purse. You know, this is what you're racing for. You know that when you fill out the entry blank. And I was told this in an early age in my NASCAR officiating career. The entry blank is a contract. So you're going to enter the race, you sign your name to it, your car owner signs their name to it, you send it in. You've agreed to abide by their rules, their time schedule, and their payoff. You agreed to that. Don't try to change that. You've signed a contract. You agreed to those terms. Don't go later on and say, oh, I think we should get more money. I think the point fund should be high. All of that is spelled out in the entry blank. And I can remember sitting in the meetings with drivers and they're questioning things. And I can remember, Ed Cox, who was the series director in the modifieds when I came on board, and his answer to them when they asked the question would be, what does the entry blank say? Well, the entry blank says, then you answered your own question. But you look at, it's no different in the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Camping World Truck Series. They sign an entry blank. And they do what they got to do, and they abide by the rules. When you fill out your last NASCAR license application, one of the things that are in the fine print that you read is you agree to abide by the rules. And the word I was just going to use just showed up in the chat room. You agree to go in their sandbox and play with their sand. And if you don't like their sandbox and you don't like the grade of sand they have, go play somewhere else. Are some teams doing that? Some. They use that as an excuse, maybe, because they don't have the money. It costs a lot of money to run a top-level team today. And they got the driver development programs that are going on. What is that all about? That's taking a kid with money, teaching them how to drive a race car. It's no longer the kid that knows how to drive a race car and then finding the money. You want to drive a race car in NASCAR, not only the top three, but in your touring series, you need to come with a bag of cash or a big checkbook. And if you don't have either one of those, keep doing what you're doing. We're going to continue this line and some of the stuff that went on in Daytona when we come back.
this is Chris Less Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hey, welcome back. Yeah, anyway, you know, people are saying it's not the same, it changed, you need to go back. Well, I'll tell you what, you know, one of the things that I was reading about just the other day is, you know, I know a few shows back, I talked about the possibility of Dodge coming back into the fold in 2018, 2017 as a manufacturer. We all know Dodge pulled out for whatever reason, you know, a couple of years back, and you know, NASCAR's funny. When you walk away from NASCAR, keep on walking. Because they want to see you again, trust me. But you know, NASCAR, you know, may have a new manufacturer in 2018 or 2019, as multiple reports have stated the possible entry of, and hold on to your seats here, Honda, Kia, or Nissan, not Dodge. Think about that. You know, now Honda has a big presence in IndyCar and has so for many, many years. And I could see them coming in with a car. Now, people are going to say, well, it's a foreign car, it's this, that. Let me tell you something. American cars are made outside of the U.S. to a degree. And foreign cars, some of them are made here to a degree. And you know, think about the car that you drive in the street. Cars today, I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but cars today, they all look the same. There's no style. Think about cars in the 50s and the 60s. They had style. They had individuality. Who had grills, and these grills are like, wow. You know, the hood ornaments. You could look at a hood ornament back in the day and say, that's a Chevy, that's a Ford, that's a Chrysler, that's a Buick. That's a Dodge. You could do that. Today, you can't do that. You know, you can't do that today because they all look alike. You know, certain cars you put side by side, different manufacturers, you look, you're like, wow, they're very similar. And the reason for that is, as in racing, you know, behind the scenes, there's no loyalty. So a designer who was designing for Ford all the years moves on to Nissan. Now he's designing for them. You don't think the Ford ideas are in his head or her head? Of course they are, you know? But you know, you look back into you look back at the finishes, and I have this book, this big thick book, it's on my bookshelf at home, and it shows make and model of the car that won the race, or the finish even. And it had the year, make and model. Now it doesn't say that. It just says, you know, Kyle Busch wanted a Ford. It doesn't say what kind of Ford. It just says Ford. You know, what's up with that? You know, and a lot of people are saying, well, you know, NASCAR is an American sport. It started that way, but now you have NASCAR Euro, NASCAR Mexico, you have NASCAR Canada. It's becoming an international sport. And in today's business world, you need to be an international company that trades your stock overseas and here and there. Gone are the days where a guy gets out his checkbook and writes a check in big business. These deals are made with shares of stock today. And that's how these things are made. That's how this happens. So when you say, when people say, oh, Honda might come in, Kia might come in, even Nissan might come in, is that a bad thing? I don't know. Because when you look at these cars, think about it, and you'd be hard-pressed to take a car that's racing in the Cup level or Xfinity level, you take the decals off it, all the graphics, painted flat black, and I want to see with the hood shut and say, that's a Ford, that's a Chevy. You'd be hard pressed to do that. Yeah, if you open the hood, if you have any mechanical ability, where the distributor is going to differentiate the Ford from the Chevy. This one's in the front and one's in the back, and I'm not ashamed to say I don't know which one is which. But I think Jay Slice could attest to that. You open the hood, that's maybe the only way you're going to differentiate. And then you have the Toyotas, and you look at Toyotas, and I said this at a meeting, and the looks I got, you would have thought I said something sacrilegious. And I said, can you guys hear? Maybe I'm a little confused, but I don't know of a Toyota with rear wheel drive or 2 doors. And I got this nasty look. And then on break, I got one of those, really shouldn't ask those kind of questions. It used to be 2-door cars, rear wheel drive. And when you think about the chassis and the setups and the drivetrain of Cup level cars, they are working on technology from the mid-'60s. Think about that. There's no front wheel drive. And show me a rear wheel drive car that you could buy off the showroom floor today, other than maybe a truck or an SUV, a big SUV. But I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see how this new manufacturer comes in. Will that bring in new fans? Maybe. Maybe, because remember, it's all about the fan base. Will that bring in new fans, bringing in these new manufacturers? It'll bring new money into the fold, but I don't know if it's going to bring in new fans. I just don't think it is. Anyway, I know somebody mentioned in the chat room this 5-minute break. When it came out, I was like, what are they thinking? And as it was said, that 5-minute clock, when you have damage, starts at the entrance of pit road and ends at the exit of pit road. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a high-numbered pit stall, which is right there coming off of turn 4 in most racetracks, you're going to get to your pit a lot quicker. You still have pit road speeds that you got to deal with. So it's not when you leave your pit stall as the clock stop, it's at the end of pit road. And I don't know what they were thinking. Think about what went on in that truck race where, took the green, went around once, next thing you know, they crossed the start finish line. They didn't get into lap 2 because half the field was wrecked. Now, in the past, those trucks could go into the garage, fix them. The official that had that truck would call up, this is, number 37 at Tower, truck number 99 is coming back. Or they'd say, truck number 99 is behind the wall. So now the scoring system's not going to look for that truck. It's behind the wall. Now when it comes back out, if it's lucky enough to come back out before the loop, it's going to get credit for that lap. If it goes into before the loop or after the loop, it does not. But, what were they thinking? What were they thinking? So now what they were forcing these teams to do is not fix it properly, because somebody behind the wall on their pit is sitting there with their watch. All right, 4 minutes, 4:30, go! Even though if it wasn't fixed. They go around, come back in, new 5-minute clock. And when you look at that, and then if you go behind the wall, you're done. Wow, what were they thinking? Half the field was out of most of the races last week. Half the field. That truck race, and the end of the truck race, those guys weren't coming back. I mean, it was the last lap. And half the field was gone before the white flag, and then the other half didn't finish the race, theoretically. So you look at that, and I don't know. I don't know who thought this up. It's like with the segments. You know, you got the 60-lap segment, a 60-lap segment, and an 80-lap segment. And I understand the reasoning. People are turning in the race to see the start, maybe watch a couple of it, and then they put something else on. Every once in a while, they switch back to it, see what's going on, see where their drivers is. And they go, it's 30 laps to go. All right, let's leave it on. Let's watch the end. And what they've tried to do is create the awareness, you know, make it exciting, because there's points involved now. The top 10 at each segment are going to get their points, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that they get to carry on, which that's a lot of points. A lot of points. When you add it up, 36 races, you know, you get an average of 6 points a race. That's an extra 180 points that I believe you carry into the playoffs. It's no longer called the chase. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the thought process was or not. You know, fortunately or unfortunately, I wasn't involved with that. But tomorrow morning at the competition meeting that they're going to have about what went on this weekend, I'm wondering if they're going to tweak this a little bit. I wonder if they're going to tweak this a little bit, because I don't think it worked. You know, I don't think it worked. And, you know, it's like, what did we do here? Now, they're not going to eliminate it altogether, but I think they're going to reevaluate it and do something a little bit different. Maybe not in time for Atlanta, which is this weekend coming up, but maybe for races down the road. But think about this. Now, these drivers are racing, which they should have been, the entire race, because they need to be in position to get those extra points. So, you know, did the segment do what it was supposed to at that level? Absolutely. But did the segment do what it was supposed to do for the fans? I don't think it did. I don't think it did. You know, and especially with all these guys. You know, you look at when I go over the truck finish, you're going to say, who are these guys? These guys were running in the back. They were running in the back when the first debacle of wrecks happened. But then they were running in the back, coming for the checker, going for turn 4 when the rest of the field got wrecked. The front of the field wrecked. Guys just hanging on. Oh, I'm hanging on. Oh, I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish at Daytona. He's all excited. Next thing you know, here's the top 5. You know, and you look at the top 5 or 10 in some of these races this weekend, you're like, that guy doesn't run up there. Top runners were knocked out of these races where they could have gone and fixed their cars. And, you know, yeah, could they have been a few laps down? But maybe. But, you know, what's missed here is Joe Fan goes with his family because they want to see, you know, Joe Mariotz. Joe Mariotz is out of the race. There you say, guys, go back to the hotel. Because that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. And it used to be, up until last season, you fixed your car. As long as you maintained minimum speed, you're allowed to stay on a racetrack. Most people do not know what minimum speed is. Somebody in the tower doesn't go, yeah, I like that guy. He's good to us. What do you think? Yeah, they look around. Yeah, what do you think? Yeah, let's let him stay out there. Or, no, we don't like that guy. Let's tell him to park it. He's not fast enough. No, minimum speed is 1.25 times the pole speed. So if you're maintaining that, you used to be able to stay out there. Now you're done. You're done. You're done. You know? And I don't think these things are getting fixed right. I think they're just going to get back out there. And you go from there. But it was just a sad state of affairs, I think, in my opinion, what went on at Daytona. I don't think a lot of thought, maybe too much thought, went into this. It's just like the guy who's, you know, in typical NASCAR fashion, hours of practice to dial it in, to get it right, to gain 0.2, a tenth, a little bit, you know, a burp, a hiccup, you know, and what happens? some of these, especially on the modified touring and the K&N touring, and those series, they've dialed themselves out. You know, you take an impound race, and I never understood this. You have a race, you know it's impound, but you need to start up front. So you set your car up to do 2 quick laps. And what happens when the green flag drops and it's race time? Backwards. You spend the whole race dialing it back to the long run. What did you gain? What did you gain? Now, I don't know. I just don't understand some of the things that go on. But anyway, this past weekend, the Truck Series, the Camp World Truck Series started at Daytona. It was a wreck fest. A wreck fest. Won by Kaz, and I hope I'm saying it right, Kaz Graza. I never heard of him. He's 18 years old. The youngest winning driver in the top series, which is when we're talking Cup, Xfinity, and Camp World Truck Series, youngest winning guy. He was way in the back when that whole wreck on the last lap happened. But anyway, when he went to the payoff window, not that they have a payoff window, they get a check in the mail, goes to the owner. He was the winner. Austin Wayne Self. No disrespect, Austin. I never heard of you. Second, Chase Briscoe. Third, John Hunter Nemechek. Fourth, Joe Nemechek, John's uncle, was fifth. Reagan Smith, sixth. Scott LaGrange Jr., seventh. Christopher Bell, eighth. J.J. Yearly, ninth. And Myatt Snyder, rounding out the top 10. Like I said, a last lap incident powered the 18-year-old Graza to victory. And at the start of the race at lap 2, like I said, Chase Briscoe got into and hooked up Noah Gragson, starting off a chain reaction in which the accident collected 17 trucks. 17 trucks. And I know I just saw it at Cornwall in the chat room, you set up your car at the shop and leave it. At that level, you can't do that. You can't do that. And the reason you can't do that, and I'm not big on setups, I know enough to get by, because there's a lot of factors that go into a setup of a race car. And one of them, believe it or not, is atmospheric conditions, the barometer settings. What's in your shop, wherever that might be, is not necessarily the same weather, the same humidity as is at your shop and the racetrack. They're different. You don't know what tires you're getting until you get to the racetrack. You can't go buy a set of tires and put them on your car and set them. No. You go get the tires. Now, yeah, they're radial tires, and they're filled in most cases helium, so the heat doesn't affect them as much, and the radial tires don't grow as much. So the tire markings that are on it, whether it's I'll pick out numbers 86 inches or 87 or 86 and 5/8, is pretty doggone close. But if it was that easy, why do you see in a top-level Cup Series garage, teams go out in the first practice and they pull right in and change their shocks? You don't think that these teams who've been running these tracks, like a Jack Roush with all his cars, or a Hendrick with all their cars, and Stuart Haas, that have raced at these tracks dozens and dozens of times, you don't think they know the initial setup? Yeah, they do, but you got to go and you set it up for that day. For that day, based on the atmospheric conditions, the humidity, the temperature, whether it's cloudy or sunny, whether the track's dry or, as they say in the South, greasy. It's you don't know till you get there. Yes, you have your books, you have your computer, and it tells you, and you're going to get it dialed in close, but you got to play with it when you get there. A lot of people don't know that. The casual race fan does not know that. Those of us who've climbed underneath these things and made this happen, and Jay Slice, he's been a crew chief for a long, long time. He taught me a lot in the couple of seasons that he was with me. Taught me a lot. I was you roll into the truck, you air up the tires, get my stagger. Okay, this is what I need to run here. He taught me so much. Taught so much. And an enduro truck driver here on Long Island, he too taught me a lot of stuff. And I'm going to deviate here for a minute like I always do, but you know, you go back out and you just see these things, and you're out there, and I'm going to run a 50-lap race with this guy's truck, and he goes, "What's your stagger?" So I give him the number, and he looks at me and goes, "I was used to running 20 laps. I'm running 50 here." He did something, he changed things, so it had me change things, and he said, "The first 20 laps, just hold on. 20 to 30, 32, it'll be okay. And the last 18 laps, it's going to drive itself." And it did. Anyway, going back to this. Half the trucks didn't finish. I think 37 or so trucks started the event, and not even half finished. So unbelievable, unbelievable. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Xfinity and Cup when we come back.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, my name is Aaron from Real Big Fish,
And I'm Ed from Real Big Fish.
and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Yeah, just looking some of the stuff that's going through the chat room, and like Jay Slice, I knew he would throw it up, and he'd leave the shop with a base setup. I remember doing that. I was like all panicky. You know, we have some big races, and we went out with a base setup, and then he did. He watched the weather. What do we got? Is it sunny? Is it cloudy? I never knew about that stuff. I never knew about stuff, and you know, I was in another guy's shop. It was like Tuesday, and he set up his tires for Saturday. I said, "What are you doing? You don't do that." And you know, and I don't know. The shop's not where to do your setup. Like you go with a base, you go to base setup. You get to the track, it's different. It's different. But anyway, the Xfinity Series. Another who's who in race, and it's going to take me a while to get these names. Ryan Reed was the winner there. Casey Kane was second. Austin Dillon was third. We had Brad Keselowski fourth. Brendan Gaughan was fifth. Scott Lagasse Jr. was sixth. Joey Gase was seventh. Garrett Smithley was eighth. William Byron ninth. And Harrison Ruther was 10th. Brandon Jones had the pole, and he finished 29th, getting caught up in an accident. Yes. Daytona, the 59th running of the great American race, the Daytona 500. Now, when you look at that, Kurt Busch, when I saw this graphic on the race, on the TV, that was his first. That last lap pass secured his first Daytona 500 victory. And Stewart-Haas Racing's partner, Tony Stewart, who never won the Daytona 500, is victorious as a car owner. Now he has that victory. Now this was the first race Stewart-Haas Racing raced using a Ford. Big announcement last year. They were going from Chevrolet to Ford. And look what happened. They went out and won. They went out and won. And Kurt Busch here is winless in restrictor plate tracks for the last 63 events. The restrictor plate tracks include Daytona and Talladega. Winless. Woof. I couldn't believe that either. He was winless in all those, 63. People were making fun of Michael Jordan with all his winless streaks. Speaking of Michael Waltrip, raced his last Daytona 500, his 30th. I can't believe 30 years has passed. I can remember his first few, and I was there for his first win. That tragic day that we lost Dale Sr. But Michael's done. He's had enough. And he ended up with a doggone finish, and we'll talk about that finish in a little bit. But watching that event, was just sitting there, we were watching, and we had some pools going on. I had a little gathering at my place, a little impromptu little thing, and we had a little pool going, and we decided it was a winner-take-all pool. All of a sudden, wait a minute, let's pay the segment people. Everybody was in agreement, and all of a sudden it made the race exciting for us because the race really wasn't that exciting. But anyway, as I said, Kurt Busch wins the first race of the year, his first Daytona 500. Congratulations to Kurt Busch and Stewart-Haas Racing. Ryan Blaney was second. A.J. Allmendinger third. Eric Almirola finished in fourth. Paul Menard was fifth. Joey Logano sixth. Casey Kane was seventh. Michael Waltrip, his last 500. Some people are saying, woohoo! Not that he finished eighth, that it's his last one. But yeah, he earned it. Matt DiBenedetto finished ninth, and Trevor Bayne finished 10th. Chase Elliott, the pole sitter, was leading that last lap, coming down the backstretch, and apparently ran out of fuel. Finished 14th. A disappointing day for pole sitter Chase Elliott. Yeah, it was an interesting event. Moving on to Atlanta. Atlanta is a fast racetrack. Fast. They're as fast as they are at Daytona, if not faster, at the end of that straightaway. And I think you're going to see some good hard racing. And I think this little tweak with this 5-minute rule is going to probably not in time for Atlanta, but in time for the ones after that. But I know what NASCAR does. NASCAR is trying to put a better product on the street, so to speak. And the problem that I see is that the people now who are making these decisions, and not only at the Cup level, Xfinity level, and Campbell Truck level, but the K&N Pro Series level as well, and the Modified Series as well, they're not drivers. They never were drivers. They didn't build them. They didn't race them. They didn't wreck them. They didn't put them back together. In some cases, they're sitting at a computer. Keying in information. Okay. If this, there's a lot of if clauses with computers. A lot of if clauses. If this happens, then this happens. If this happens. And then the computer spins out a printout, and then rip it open. This is what we got. Actually, it's laser now, so it goes, I'm trying to be funny. And they look at it, and they go back and they say, this is what you should do. And according to the computer, this is what should happen. It's not happening. It's not happening. So I really do hope they tweak this 5-minute thing, and I hope that they could do something with this damn thing, because you can't fix your car. You can't sometimes fix your car on pit road. I've been on pit road. I've been hit on pit road. And it's just dangerous to sit there and try to fix your car. You know, it's too dangerous. You got to go behind the wall sometimes. And I've watched guys get injured. There was one year I worked New Hampshire. I worked every series on pit road except for Cup. And all of a sudden, it's the last race, it was actually my third event of the week, you know, for a race. And the 2 prior races that I worked, one of the guys in the pit stall I was assigned to, one of the, each day, each event, and I shouldn't be laughing because it's not funny, broke a leg or an ankle because they got hit on pit road. I had wheel mark on my backside. I took my fire suit off. I'm like, how did I get a wheel mark? Obviously, I was hit by a car. You know what? You're so intense. You're not even paying attention. You're making sure everybody's doing their thing. And so now it's the truck race in New Hampshire, and it's Saturday. And Todd Bozai sees that I'm assigned to his, and he goes, no. I heard about you. No. I said, and I shouldn't be laughing, but I said, it's not going to happen. What are the odds? What are the odds? So first time he pulls into the pit for tires, this tire man goes out there with 2 tires, and he gets hit in the tire. It spins him around. His foot don't move, and his leg did. And I heard crunch, and I just saw, oh man, Todd's gonna get out of the truck and kick my butt. But it happens, you know, it happens. I had some good memories on pit road. But, you know, Jay Slice is like, and he's a very, very knowledgeable guy. Back in our figure 8 days, we practiced at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We raced at 9, 10 o'clock at night. Went from a hot, sticky track to a cold, damn track. You know, practice was worthless. Worthless. No need to set up. You know, I used to look at, how come you're not going to practice? What for? Do a couple of laps and you know, make sure that nothing falls off. And then, all right, we're good, you know, we got it set up. And then you go out and they're out to lunch. And, you know, and especially here, you know, on Long Island Riverhead, it's so close to the bay, so close to Peconic Bay, and the temperature drops so much from the afternoon to the evening that it gets damp. I can remember sitting in my car and wishing I had defrosters. And you're trying to wipe it, and it's Lexus, so you wipe it with a rag, and it scratches, and then the lights mess it all up, you know, and I don't know. Yeah, it's just so different. Setup, you know, setup is tough. You know, you get it close in your shop, and then you dial it in at the racetrack. But you don't dial yourself out, and that's what happens. And, you know, there's guys that race, and there's guys that behind the scenes, and you know, you can't be, I don't think you could be everything. You can't be everything. And you know, the intensity of this, again, whether you're in a weekly racing series at the, and I hate to say lowest division, but a less competitive or less costly division, or you're up the top in the Cup, it's still the same blood, sweat, and tears that go in it. Still the same blood, sweat, and tears. And you know, your intensity levels there. And I've always said this, and I can remember sitting in my office, whether it was in the modified touring series or the weekly series, and a driver would come in, you need to talk to, you know, this guy. You go, he wrecked me on purpose. Really? You really believe that? Yeah. Well, here's what I believe. And this used to drive people crazy. When I said this, it drove them crazy. I said, and I say to them, you ever take physics in high school? Most of them didn't. You ever take physics in high school? No. Here's the law of physics. Two objects cannot occupy the same physical space at the same exact time. It's impossible. So now when you're cruising along at 200 feet or 150 feet a second, and you react because there's a hole here, that hole is now back there by the time you react. And you might hit, you might crash. I don't think any competitor on the way out to the racetrack, you know, they're sitting in the passenger seat of the truck and they're like, Yep. They're bouncing on the expressway. I'm going to wreck today. No, they don't think like that. Nobody goes to the racetrack and says, I'm going to wreck today. It happens. That's why they're called accidents. And whether it's at this level, that level, think about Daytona. Think you're going 190 miles an hour, inches apart, and you're bumping, and this, you could wipe out the whole field, or half the field, like the trucks did on Friday. Just a little move, just a little bump, just a little wiggle. The aero, I watched in the Cup race, this race on it, and they're going. All of a sudden, the guy does that behind him, and this guy got all squirrely because the air changed. The air changed, and just like, you bring back memories, man. I can remember sitting on the back of our car. Look at that guy. He's changing all kinds of stuff because his car's, it's all tight. It's all tight. He's gonna change it for the future in 5 hours. We're gonna race in the dark. And, we go out there and we do okay. We go okay. And, only Gravel would gravel a multi-time world champion demolition driver. He drives to the racetracks saying he's going to wreck somebody. That's what he does. My man Gravel, we go back a long way. But, when you look back on this and you look at how racing was, I know somebody earlier in the chat room, let's bring it back to the way it was. No, let's not. Now, let's take what we have and make it better. Let's put a better product in front of the fans. And let's take that product and go to the sponsors. This Monster deal is and I can remember when Sprint came in, Nextel before Sprint, when they shut down and Sprint took it over, Winston, all these series title sponsors. There'll be a big headline. Acme Corporation sponsored the Sprint Cup, the Cup Series, and they're going to pay $20 million for 5 years. Monsters didn't do that. Monster Energy did not do that. Yeah, we're going to do it now. No money, no terms. Did they have a big presence at the racetrack? Even watching on TV, and I could tell that the producers of the show were told, get Monster people on camera. You need to see the Monster girls, the Monster guys, the Monster emblem. And, a lot of people saying, Kurt Busch is sponsored by Monster. It's one of his primary cars. It's kind of funny that he won. He won. Conspiracy theory. We're going to talk more about that when we come back.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
Welcome back. We only have a couple of minutes left, not even a couple of minutes left. And I just want to let everybody know, this new thing with the top 3 series, the Cup, Xfinity, and the trucks is a work in progress. And let's deal with it. Let's hopefully they tweak it and hopefully they make it better, not only for the fans, but something that the sponsors like as well. It can only get better, and we can't keep knocking them, even though it appears that I'm just reporting what I see and read. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules tonight to come in and watch and listen and participate in tonight's show. April 17th, on Monday, it'll be our 300th episode. And if you want to be a part of that, let us know. We have limited seating for our live studio audience. It'll be great. It'll be good. And who would have thought 300 episodes? Anyway. Oh, well, folks, I want to again thank you. Wherever your endeavors are going to bring you this week, please be safe. Please be careful. Give somebody a hug. Tell them you love them. God bless you all. And we will see you next Monday night. Good night, everybody.